if you tell, in essence, the journal entry you'd never want anyone to read, that's the best story you can tell because it's forced to be honest. If you share something that is deeply human about you, audiences will feel that. If you're gonna make a movie and it's gonna be seen and appreciated by anyone, you have to have something to say. The only way that you can say something that's unique is if it is something that comes from your unique self. Hi, I'm Miles Levin. I'm a writer and director living in Santa Rosa, California. When I was younger, I would get asked for class projects or like a speech for a speech class to draw from my experience having epilepsy, and I'd refuse to do it because it felt cheap. I didn't want to be one of those people that uses your, deep dark truth or whatever as leverage, to be noticed, or leverage to get credit where credit maybe isn't due. What I was ignoring was the fact that if you tell, in essence, the journal entry you'd never want anyone to read, that's the best story you can tell because it's forced to be honest. If you share something that is deeply human about you, even if it's not an autobiography or something, audiences will feel that. Audiences can feel when you write about something that you don't know anything about. If you're gonna make a movie and it's gonna be seen and appreciated by anyone, you have to have something to say. The only way that you can say something that's unique is if it is something that comes from your unique self. If you want to get your movie made, you have to love it more than anything in the whole world, and you have to have something that only you can say. And for me, I had something to say about living with epilepsy that people were going to appreciate, and I was able to say it in such a way that people who didn't have epilepsy would also appreciate. So I worked for many years at a camp for kids who have epilepsy, and at that camp, the kids really were very honest about how brutal, the brutality that they'd faced just living in the world. That the seizures they had were awful, of course, but the thing that was really getting them down was that they were totally friendless. They had no understanding coming their way on the playground. They were siloed and kind of ignored, and there was nothing wrong with them. They were normal kids, but because they had this label on them, they'd get left out. And I realized that epilepsy, although it affects 1 in 26 people, really struggles to have the level of awareness that other conditions have. Something that the epilepsy community is doing poorly is getting our stories told. People don't want to tell their stories because they're afraid that they won't get employed. They don't want to tell their stories because they're afraid that they'll lose their friends or that they won't be able to make friends. It's risky. But I was someone who was always able to tell my story, and it never bothered me to do so. And so after going to this camp, I realized that I had an obligation. I had to say something. And so I made a short film called Under the Lights about a boy with epilepsy who's so desperate to feel like a regular kid, he goes to prom knowing the lights will make him have a seizure. The short was really remarkable in that in the epilepsy world, it's sort of the only thing of its kind. A narrative fiction short film that is not an educational piece, it's not a documentary, it appeals to common universal feelings. I put it out there, it had a fairly normal festival run, and then something really magical happens, and fan art starts pouring out from around the corners of the internet. Fans are translating it into multiple languages. People are forming programs around it. I start getting asked to speak every month. 5 years later, I'm still getting on planes, going places, talking about this little 9-minute movie. People send me videos of themselves coming out about their epilepsy for the first time because they were inspired by it. People changing the course of their careers, choosing new career paths because they were inspired by the message in the short. Today, actually, I got a picture of someone asking someone to prom in real life, like a real life promposal that was drawn from the movie. It's crazy. And it showed me the power of what it means when you tell your real story. And so because it was so meaningful, I absolutely had to make the full length feature Under the Lights movie, which is now in post-production as of this interview. It has some pretty big stars. It's got Nick Offerman, it's got Lake Bell, Mark Duplass, Randall Park, Maren Hinkle from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Pretty wild adventure. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned going from short to feature is that they are completely different mediums. People like to think about short films as this calling card thing that's purpose is to make the feature, and I very much don't feel that that's true. You can do that, but a good short film stands on its own, and a short film is a format that allows you to tell stories that simply can't be told in a longer format, and the reverse is true. I went into this feeling like, hey, it's scaling up, so the amount of effort that it took to make a quality 10-minute short, I'll have to do like 10 times the amount of work to make a 100-minute feature. No, it's not comparable at all. Nothing is the same. It's 1,000 times harder. There's so many nuances that just aren't a consideration when you make a short. The teams are bigger. There's more days, longer days. There's so much more preparation that's required. There's so many more things that come up that you couldn't have planned for. And there's so many more joys. I got to work with some of my favorite actors that, is a pretty mind-blowing experience. I also felt a tremendous amount of pride doing that in Sonoma County. Almost the entire film is shot in Sonoma County. We had some team from LA and team mostly from Sonoma County working on this film up here. And I just felt so proud of the level of talent that we have in this county and the Bay Area. And I think we showed beyond shadow of a doubt, that, anybody reference Hitchcock? Okay. That Santa Rosa is not a bad place to make a movie. Something that, there's little nuances that I think were really interesting. There's just things you can get done here that just can't be done in LA. I think when you go and you find a location in Los Angeles, they immediately expect that movie equal money. We had locations here where we were able to, find something for a whole week that would have cost an hour, been the hourly rate in LA. I'm gonna sound a little tired because it's been a really long process. We we started shooting almost a year ago, and we've had a very lengthy post-production process. It's a very effects-heavy film. I think that I had the experience that every film school graduate dreams of. And I didn't go to film school. I just found the right people in the right order and asked the right questions. And all of that was available to me here in Sonoma County. If you're interested in seeing the Under the Lights short film that started it all, or interested in getting a notification when the full-length film is good and ready, you can go to underthelightsfilm.com and you can sign up for updates, and that's the best way to learn about it.